There's something special about a neighborhood party when you're a kid. It's different than a normal party. Really, it's an event for the adults to get together and drink, and taking the kids along gives them a great excuse to do it. After all, everyone else is going too. As a result, the neighborhood friends you have become an important group. They're not always your closest friends personally, but they're always there when the grown-ups get together, so you have to make them good ones. In elementary and middle school in particular, this was one of the only ways by which boys and girls regularly spent any time together, especially if they were apart in age by a grade or two, so neighborhood parties brought along a particular kind of interaction and performatism that birthday parties with all boys or girls could not. The kids of Baker Street were lucky to have so many of them in a fairly tight window of ages. Bridget, Mary, and Hikari were all in 8th grade, as were Dale and Beckett. Ronnie and Talia were the younger siblings 1 year below, with occasional surprise guests in the mix. Today, there was only one, Tessa, the 8th grader from the other side of town, who was good friends with Hikari. The main 7 of them had all grown up together, meeting for Halloween trick-or-treating, Easter egg hunts, and last day of school parties since at least kindergarten, plus whenever someone wanted to throw an impromptu block party or barbecue. Tonight, Mr. Tommaso, Hikari's father, apparently wanted to show off a new bottle of wine and grill some steaks, and called in the troops. This placed our gang in the usual locale when they met at the Tommaso household, the upstairs playroom. The room was filled with toys, board games, some old video games, and plenty more stuff that the kids had grown well out of by now, but recalled playing with gleefully in years gone. Now, while the items that littered the floor were obsolete for their entertainment, the hangout spot remained. The gang all sat down, mostly spread across the floor in positions of various discomfort, looking for what they were going to do. "You know what we haven't played in a while?" posed Hikari. "Truth or Dare." Now Truth or Dare was a loaded cannon of a game because it could either completely sputter out because no one wants to test any limits, or go off the rails because people want to test the limits too hard. It's a delicate balance that's hard to strike right, and Dale said as much. "You know that never goes well because it always devolves to who's your crush, and go tell the parents you pooped yourself. Well, when was the last time we did it?" She responded. 2 years ago? We're older now and so are the little ones, we could actually make it interesting. Ears around the room perked up at the idea. No one would speak up to commit to playing, but based on the lack of no's, the silence sounded like a collective "let's try." "All right then, Dale," began Hikari. "Truth or Dare?" "Truth." "Who's your crush?" "I told you this was a dumb game." "All right, fine, Hikari went on. "I was kidding, just making a joke about your comment. Here's a real one. What color underwear are you wearing?" Dale paused only a moment before confidently declaring, "Gray." A nod of acknowledgement traveled across the room. "All right, my turn," Dale announced. "Bridget, Truth or Dare?" "Dare," she said eagerly. Bridget was always the wild one, and Dale knew it. "Take your shirt off." Even Bridget paused for a second at the thought. This was well beyond anything they had tested before, and with the siblings in the room, she wondered if this was wrong. But then again, they were older, and older kids did crazier stuff. After looking around at the girls who wondered if she would, and the boys who watched without blinking in case they should miss it, she composed herself and took off the green tank top she'd been wearing to reveal an A-cup white bra over her young, newly budding chest. All of a sudden, the game had become far more interesting. Whatever apathy ran through the crowd before became rapt attention in a hurry. Tessa in particular was amazed her own neighborhood group had never broached such a thing. Bridget turned to Beckett for the next question. "Truth or Dare?" she asked pointedly, shirt still on the floor beside her. Seeing how the game was going, Beckett nervously asked for a truth. Who stole my bathing suit at the pool party last summer? Interrupting her before she could even finish, Beckett loudly announced, I've changed my mind, dare, dare, dare. It wasn't how things were supposed to go, and in another universe Bridget would have held him to the question, but in this one, she wanted to give him the dare instead anyway. You got it. Switch clothes with Mary. Beckett replied in a hurry, Hey, you can't bring someone else in, that's not fair to her. One dare per person. That's fine, answered Bridget. Mary, truth or dare? Dare, Mary answered. Switch clothes with Beckett. See, now it's a joint dare and you both can do it. Beckett had been snared with that move, but knew the game and accepted his fate. No underwear, announced Mary, and no one argued. To facilitate the change, Mary went into the next-door bathroom and Beckett entered the toy closet in the room, which had just enough space for him to stand. They disrobed and each handed their garments to Bridget, who stood by their doors and transferred the clothes from one to the other. Now in possession of their new get-ups, they could get changed in private. Mary emerged first as Beckett made his frustrations audible from the closet with grunts here and there. She was wearing the same thing he was prior to their dare, a New York Knicks basketball jersey which baggily hung off of her, black basketball shorts that reached her knees, and an oversized flat-brim baseball cap, also for the Knicks, which she wore sideways. As she sauntered in, she bent her knees and put her fingers into two sideways peace signs, mimicking Beckett's own impression of the rap artists he admired. Her blonde hair had been tucked up in a ponytail and stashed into the hat, leaving her face a bit more boyish. The crowd clapped for her in the new getup, as she exaggeratedly overplayed Beckett's style of walking and lowered her voice. Riotous laughter followed the act. Beckett heard the commotion and didn't love the jokes, but saw it was all in good fun, so he had only one way to respond. The closet door burst open, and Beckett held up his hand to his ear in a classic 90s fake telephone bit. With the richest Valley Girl accent he could muster up, he let out his first line. Oh my God, Bridget, can you believe he did that to me? Men are such pigs, boys, am I right? If the crowd had been laughing before, the response to this was uproarious. Not only had he hit the right notes, he also looked just like Mary while doing it. Beckett's new outfit included a brightly patterned vest-styled top and black flare pants, which hugged his bottom in ways he hadn't felt before. Beckett hadn't had much time to get distracted by the softness of what he was wearing. He was mostly just glad Mary hadn't been wearing a dress considering the nature of the dare. He really liked how the clothes smelled like Mary. Keeping up the act, the pair did a few scenes pretending to be each other, and with a few laughs rejoined the circle where the game went on. It was Beckett's turn now to ask. He was the real loser of that dare. A pattern of boys and girls pitching to each other had formed, and Beckett wasn't one to break the cycle. He thought hard before turning to Hikari, who had kicked this whole thing off. Hikari, truth or dare? Dare, she responded eagerly. She was like that, always up for a challenge. I dare you to kiss Tessa. A silence filled the room at the thought, an eager silence by some, and a worried silence by others. Hikari didn't even pause before saying, what did we literally just establish about two-person dares? Fine, Beckett responded slyly. Tessa, truth or dare? Tessa, caught up in some antics she hadn't experienced before, saw through it immediately. It was the same exact ploy as the previous bit, and the response was simple. Truth, she answered confidently. Who in this room would you most want to kiss? Tessa paused. In a way, Beckett had still gotten to the point in a roundabout manner. The real answer to the question was easy, she'd say Beckett. Her heart fluttered at even the thought. His confidence and swagger, his adventurousness, and looks, all had driven her to a little crush in the last year. But she could never say that, especially not when he's the one who had asked. She considered her options, recognizing that she didn't really have to kiss anyone, but still had to say something. Dale? No chance. Same with Ronnie, and it would be extra weird since he was younger. That ruled out the boys. Among the girls, the one she knew best was Hikari. She could play that off more easily too. Hikari, obviously, just look at her. Tessa answered emphatically, giving Hikari a big hug as she did so. Beckett gave a sly smile to Hikari, who saw a chance to up the ante herself. Her protestations had been on Tessa's behalf anyway, and at 12 years old she knew she was old enough to start pushing the envelope. "Aw, come here," Hikari declared, planting a big ol' smooch on Tessa's cheek. It was playful and easily passed off, and the boys sat with wide smiles as they'd gotten to see the original dare they'd hoped for. Dale had never seen a girl-on-girl kiss, and honestly, didn't quite get the appeal from a man's perspective. Nonetheless, it was something other boys claimed was hot, so he'd go along pretending it was too. That made it Tessa's turn next. "Ronnie, you've been awfully quiet over there," she spoke, staring into the shy boy's eyes. Ronnie was Hikari's younger brother, who Tessa knew well enough to reasonably give some trouble in this game. "Truth or dare?" she asked. To Ronnie, Tessa was Hikari's prettiest friend, so if anyone was going to dare him to do something, it was either the best or the worst that it was her. Requesting truth was off the table if he was going to maintain his place among the older kids. That required more than just dancing around questions. "Dare," he answered, as Tessa expected. "Hikari, do you still have any old Halloween costumes from years past?" Tessa asked. "Yeah, we keep them in the little chest over there, what we used to use for dress-up growing up." The chest was a fixture in the room, and most of the kids remembered opening it up to play pirates or princesses when they were much smaller. Tessa took a short walk over and poked around for a minute, before grabbing something and hiding it behind her back. "Ronnie, I dare you to wear this," she proclaimed, pulling in front of her a costume bag with a picture of a model dressed as Snow White on the front. Ronnie recognized the outfit. It was the one Hikari had worn the year before. While he was a boy, he was still a year younger and hadn't hit the main stride of his growth spurt yet, so ultimately the two were about the same size. He gulped at the thought. At least Beckett was already in girls' clothes, though this seemed more than a few degrees more embarrassing than Beckett's outfit. Ronnie stood and let out an all right as he took the bag and departed to the bathroom Mary had been using to change before. The fact that this would leave him exposed outside of the room for a few seconds on the return trip worried him, but the closet wasn't any more appealing. As he opened the door to go, Tessa shouted, "Don't forget the stockings," just loud enough to get a laugh and let Ronnie worry a parent was going to overhear. While Ronnie changed, the kids got to take a short break from their game, which from all perspectives was going much better than anticipated. The girls were having a lot of fun messing with the guys, and the guys, whether or not they'd tell you, loved spending time with the girls and making them laugh. Jokes here and there, plus more impressions from the gender-swapped pair, kept the mood light and the game going. As Ronnie finished changing and left the bathroom, he poked his head out to the hallway, fearful of any adults seeing him. With no one around, he dashed over to the playroom door, skirt flowing as he ran, until he could pull the door open in a hurry, slip into the room, and just as quickly close it behind him. It wasn't much of a grand entrance, but without any barriers blocking the view between the kids and the door, he immediately entered full display. Maybe the most notable element of Ronnie's new dress was the big, yellow skirt held out at his waist by a built-in yellow petticoat. It fell down only to his thighs, where it met the tops of his opaque white thigh-high stay-up stockings, each adorned at the top with a large yellow bow matching the skirt. The bodice of the dress was a rich blue with red accents, faux corset laces in front and trim along the ends of the large white puff sleeves that covered his shoulders. Atop his black-haired head was a wide yellow headband topped with a big red bow, and on his hands were white fingerless costume gloves, completing the outfit. He looked even better than the rest had hoped. An outfit that was borderline sexy on Hikari, testing the limits of age appropriateness, was adorable on Ronnie, and he faced a round of jeers and comments on how pretty he was. He dismissed the others and tried getting on with the game, though his eyes kept drifting to Bridget's lack of a shirt, as they had been ever since her dare. Half of Ronnie wanted to go right back to Tessa and make her do something embarrassing of equal measure, but the loudest laughter in the room when he entered had come from Talia, who couldn't help herself. She was also conspicuously untouched by the game so far. The choice was clear. Talia, truth or dare? Ronnie directed, skirt swishing with each little movement he made. It was hard to take him seriously in that get-up, especially with the pretty stockings. Truth, she replied. He was unsatisfied with the answer, but went on anyway. You cheated on the math test last week, he said. I'm sorry, was that a question? Asked Talia. No, I just wanted that out there. My question is, do you stuff your bra? In truth, Talia had been one of the first in her grade to develop and had apparently done so quite rapidly. A little unbelievably rapidly, in Ronnie's opinion. This was his personal fact-finding mission. Talia's face flushed, and the girls became defensive. Hey man, you can't cross a line like that. How could you ask such a thing? Chastised Mary. Ronnie tried replying with I'm in a freaking dress and I can't ask her that? Come on. And Bridget and Hikari moved to jump into the argument too, but Talia spoke up above all of them and interjected. It's fine. It's the game, she said, surprisingly authoritatively for being the youngest one there. The rest simmered down, willing to get the game back on the rails since it had been going so well. No, I don't stuff my bra, Talia answered. I don't believe you, Ronnie accused, apparently still itching for conflict. That was a sharp claim to make. In truth or dare, one must tell the truth when demanded, of course, for otherwise the game has no bite. For Ronnie to say she was lying was to say she was undermining the game entirely, and if so, would destroy the game's credibility going forward. But what Talia did next shocked everyone. You want to find out? She posed. Ronnie hardly knew what that even meant, but nodded anyway. Talia took the boy's girly-gloved hand in hers, and gently guided it over to her chest, then under her shirt. That feel like stuffing to you? She asked. Ronnie's face was bright red and his legs seemed to turn to jelly as his palm lay gently over Talia's bra-covered breast. No ma'am, he meekly answered, as the other boys looked on incredibly jealously. None of them had gotten that far before, let alone in 7th grade. With the room aghast, Talia pressed on. Dale, truth or dare? Before they could finish, 3 loud raps at the door were followed by no pause at all as Mr. Tommaso entered the room, grilling apron over his body and all. Hey kids, just wanted to check up on you and... He paused, taking in the sight of one boy dressed as a girl dressed as a boy, one girl frantically trying to put her shirt back on, and his own son donning the snow-white costume he had hated on his daughter the year prior. Presumably, at this point a lot of thoughts raced through his head at the vision before him, and he stopped in his tracks for a moment. Regaining composure, he let out a sigh and turned to Ronnie. Did they bully you into this? Ronnie shook his head no. Well, all right then. You guys have fun with whatever it is you're doing here. Be safe. With that, he left the room, and the tension that had kept the kids frozen still for the last 30 seconds burst into a sigh of relief and a laugh. Everyone thought he was going to be mad. Back to it, Talia reiterated to Dale. Truth or dare? Dale wondered what his next move should be. He saw the only other boys in the room now dressed as girls and wondered if he was next. Was it obvious what was coming? He didn't know. Truth was the safe option. He took it. Talia looked him in the eyes and spoke the words that made Dale's heart stop. You see your friends around you are dressed up all girly here. Do you want us to dress you up too? That was it. The most killer question he could be asked. If he were prepared to tell the truth, he would have burst out a yes, with elated excitement. There was nothing he actually, deep down, wanted more than for that to happen. He had always had a thing for crossdressing, yearned for a chance to be made over into a pretty girl by another pretty girl, and here the chance was right in front of him. His friends were already done, the moment was here, but how could he actually answer truthfully? To Dale, that was the most embarrassing thing he could admit. It didn't matter if his friends already had done it, to admit he wanted to be made over might as well have been a death sentence, or so it felt. Was he supposed to say no, no matter what, else give up his claim to any masculinity forever? How could the choice between what he always wanted and what he was always supposed to do be so hard? With the deepest regret, he didn't think long before saying, no, of course not. It was a lie, but a necessary one. Why did she even ask? The room deflated, a little bit at least, as the other answer was much more hoped for. Dale tried to restore the edge by asking Hikari if she was a virgin on his turn after she said truth, but it wasn't like her saying yes was surprising. Everyone there was. Dale got excited when Hikari turned right back to him, probably disappointed by his previous answer. He reckoned that if she dared him to dress girly, his earlier response wouldn't matter and he'd get what he wanted most, a way to get his makeover and still save face because it was forced. But when he requested his dare, she dared him to do 50 push-ups. Mundane, annoying, masculine push-ups, which he probably couldn't even finish in the first place. They were abiding by his spoken but untrue wishes, and it seemed a chance to realize that dream would never come. And then, a miracle. Beckett spoke up at this point, before Dale could get in the push-up position. No, that's bullshit. If Ronnie and I are gonna dress like girls here, he has to also. Give him a new dare or I will. In an alternate world where Dale was honest about not wanting to be dressed up, this would be a major betrayal of bro code. In this world though, Beckett was Dale's savior. Hikari, seeing the demand made of her, decided to oblige. All right, Dale, new plan. I dare you to let us dress you up as a girl. What could Dale do? Of course his only path forward was to accept the dare and allow it. What a tragedy, he thought, sarcastically. Very well. Go ahead. Unlike Ronnie who got the costume, or Beckett who wore casual clothes sponsored by Mary, Dale was going to get the full treatment. Hikari had closets full of everything the girls needed to make Dale pretty. Dale, come with us. Hikari ordered, and the others grabbed his arms to escort him into Hikari's room to change. Beckett and Ronnie could hear the giggles coming from a few doors down the hall as the process went on. They reckoned Dale was either in heaven or in hell as they awaited his return, potently aware of the girly clothing they themselves had on. A pack of 5 girls came into the room a short while later. When they had departed, there had only been 4 girls and a boy. Dale wore a knee-length lilac spaghetti-strap dress with a built-in oversized bow on his lower back, secured with a strip of fabric like a belt dividing the bodice from the skirt. His legs were encased in moderately sheer black tights, and on his feet were a pair of short black heels. Hikari's personal style was very evident in the outfit. His medium-length brown hair had been parted and secured into 2 short pigtails in the back, while his bangs were pushed out of his face and secured with a lilac barrette matching the dress. Around his neck was a black choker, and they had placed some silver bracelets on his wrists and rings on his fingers, all of which added to his girly visage. Dale sat next to the other boys, as if nothing had changed. The 2 of them were very surprised at just how much the girls had done. I think it's my turn again, said Dale, now secretly joyfully wearing Hikari's beautiful dress. It was time for revenge, or maybe better put, revenge. Beckett, truth or dare? Beckett was a confident guy. He was also a prideful one. There was no chance he was backing down from whatever Dale would throw at him, especially after his stunt earlier to drag Dale into this with him. "Dare," he proudly responded. "I dare you to let the girls do your makeup." At first, Beckett wondered who even wore makeup at their age, but then remembered that all of the girls had experimented with it on occasions: school dances, formal events, spaces like that. He didn't know that Tessa was actually quite the budding artist, and had brought her makeup bag with her just for practice on herself and Hikari before company arrived. Combining that with Hikari's collection of products, the girls had a serviceable assortment of makeup ready to use, even if they were still just learning how to use it. Beckett accepted his fate, but offered a statement before they begun working on him. "I want to make something perfectly clear. Both Dale and Ronnie will also be getting their makeup done. I don't care how many truths and dares it takes, or if we have to go beyond the game. There is simply no way they are avoiding it. I will not allow that. You two might as well just join me now and do it together, because I will absolutely not let you not do this." Dale, perhaps a little too eagerly, volunteered alongside him. Ronnie, in his princess dress, didn't really want to, but realized that Beckett was serious, and believed that either it was a guarantee, or there would be consequences if he didn't. Better to get it over with now. The girls, amazed at this new direction the game had taken, jumped to the task. Beckett, with his simple outfit, got a simple makeup job from Mary and Bridget. He had a natural prettiness about him to begin with, the kind of face that works as both masculine and feminine at the same time, so after a few coats of mascara, which he made very difficult to apply, some brown eyeshadow and a bit of pink lip gloss, he was done. Talia and Hikari got to work on Ronnie. Snow White absolutely needed a bright red lip, so onto Ronnie's soft boyish lips went many coats of vibrant scarlet lipstick until the perfect color and shape were achieved. As for the rest of him, mascara, a bit of eyeliner, and bright red blush advanced the princess look, and as a final touch, a generous dose of golden yellow glitter on his eyelids to match the skirt and stockings. Tessa, the expert, worked alone on Dale, who sat on a chair with his black nylon-encased legs crossed like a real girl. He smiled at Tessa, anticipating how it was going to feel to become so feminine. Tessa did much more to shape Dale's face than the others. With foundation, contour, blush, and a few brilliant strokes of highlighter, she managed to soften his face and put the light in all the right places to make his face shape that of a girl instead of a boy. She must have spent a lot of time with YouTube tutorials to manage that. His eyeshadow was a very light purple, so light in fact that you might have thought it was just white. A glittery pink eyeliner created a bit of glimmer to draw some attention to his eyes, and like the other boys he got some mascara, though unlike the others, Tessa insisted on curling his lashes first. The final touch was a bright Barbie pink liquid lipstick that Tessa gently applied to his lips. He felt the coolness and softness of the applicator, a wonderful sensation rivaled only by the big soft blush brush she used to add color to his cheeks. Since Beckett was done first, he got to watch the final touches on the other two boys in the room, though from the looks of it, it would have been hard to call anyone in there a boy. And then, on cue, a loud call from below penetrated through the playroom door. "Dinner's ready, come down." It was like they had completely forgotten about the fact that the parents were here, even despite Mr. Tommaso's earlier invasion. Panic swept through the room as the boys scrambled to take off their clothes and makeup, the girls assisting to conceal the evidence with makeup wipes and a return of everyone's original garments. Even after all the clothes returned to their rightful places and makeup was scrubbed, evidence in the form of impossible to remove glitter and spots of extra pigment remained on the boys' faces. At that point though, there was nothing left to do but head downstairs. The adults surely must have noticed traces of makeup on their boys' faces, and had certainly already been told by Hikari's dad what was going on, but still they pretended like nothing was up. The stakes were good, the kids' table had plenty of banter, though the subject of their game was strictly avoided, and when the meal ended, it was time to split up again. Kids upstairs to play, adults downstairs to drink. As the gang returned to the playroom, now looking like a disaster area, though truthfully, it always did, they regrouped sitting on the ground, looking again for something to do. "Any ideas?" posed Hikari. "You know, when we were looking through Hikari's stuff I found a dress that would look so cute on Beckett," commented Mary. "No, no more truth or dare," Beckett stated. "Actually, I wasn't planning to give you the choice." Mary responded with a big smile. "Talia, get the red dress. Tessa, get the lipstick." "I'll hold him down," she shouted, lunging at Beckett and pinning him to the ground. He squirmed, while Bridget and Hikari began creeping towards Dale and Ronnie, preparing to bring back the girls they had momentarily left behind.